¿Qué onda, everybody? And welcome back to Echando el Coto. My name is Lorena Reynoso, Lore para los cuates, or Lore if you know me from With Folklore. So here, we keep it super real and we talk about different subjects. And today, we're going to be talking about influence. And welcome to my real life. We do not do any kind of overproduction. I'm just in my room. My camera's not great. I got a little bit of lighting. I got no filter on my face and just a wee bit of makeup. But let's do this. All right. So we're going to be talking about exactly that, influence. Exactly the reason why all the videos you are watching are heavily overproduced. Every is taken out. Everything is super edited and sped up so that your little ADHD brain can take it all in as fast as possible, which is not okay. Hands up to everybody with ADHD, by the way. It's not simple. It's not easy. I completely understand it. And I'm not just being a jerk. I was actually diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome and obsessive compulsive disorder. I do not have ADHD, but I understand that a lot of these things, not so easy to navigate all the time, okay? And if you're ever interested in knowing a little bit more of that, you guys can check out my podcast. It's on Spotify and Apple and everywhere. It's called The Wellness of Madness. And I talk about all of my diagnoses and how I really ended up seeing them as a superpower eventually after many trial and error in therapy, but go check that out. But today we're going to be talking about influence. And to take it back a little bit, I want to take it back to my grandmother, because my grandmother was pretty much Olenna Tyrell without the wealth. So if you've seen Game of Thrones, you know who Olenna is, right? The reason is I say this is because she taught me that people skills were one, if not the most important skill that I should hone. But not in the way of a popularity contest, in a way that it could save your life. And it's true. So if you guys have seen me for years now on social media or wherever you guys might have found me, there's one thing that a lot of people say, and it's that I look confident. I am confident. I'm very confident. I like myself. I'm confident in my ability to speak, in my ability to think, in my ability to express myself. And all of this is, yes, most likely also my personality. I am a Gemini. But thanks to my grandmother, who at a very early age helped me understand that honing your people skills is priceless. Okay, so why do I say this? Well, because now we see a lot of influence in different ways and different places, right? It could be a person on social media. It could be a certain agenda being pushed. It could be a certain idea, right? It could be, it's many, many ways. We are constantly influenced to choose what to eat, to choose what to wear, to choose what makeup to use. It's constant influence. And even though people would consider myself an influencer, I'm a content creator, influencer, whatever you want to call it, I influence good things. I'm not tooting my own horn here, but here's the deal, okay? It's all about charisma and getting people to like you, right? It's all about being likable. But here's the big problem. You could be very likable, and then you have two choices. Am I going to use that likability to do good or to do bad? And unfortunately, many use it to do bad. And maybe that's not originally their idea, but along the way, they get interested in more wealth, or they sell out, right? And by the way, I'm sorry if you guys can hear my kids screaming. I'm not in my studio yet. I'm just in my room, so sorry. So I always thought about that, right? I constantly thought about that, because I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and been like, you would be a very good cult leader. I think I would be a great cult leader. If I had less morality or ethics, I could do a lot of things, right? But that's what has always, in people's minds, held me back, or in people's minds not been as ambitious, is because, sure, I could probably make a lot of money. I could probably utilize my likability or utilize my good looks. I mean, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but it's still, I'm a girl, I'm a woman. I'm a woman. And it's easier, right? So I could absolutely utilize my influence to maybe gain more control, influence more people, make a lot of money, but I have ethics and I have morality. And that's another thing that my grandmother taught me along the way of honing your people skills, right? The thing is, you could I don't necessarily know if charisma is something you're born with or you can build, but I do know that charismatic people end up in powerful positions. The difference is, maybe Donald Trump versus Subcomandante Marcos, right? Whether what you're going to utilize that charisma and that likability for. And that's a really dangerous power that if you don't know how to wield that sword, it can get out of control. Now, I'm constantly, on social media, but I don't get paid. I don't get paid by Instagram. I don't get paid by TikTok. I don't get paid any brand deals because I usually refuse to do any brand deals unless it's absolutely a product that I think is phenomenal and I think it could help a lot of people. But if you really go and see my channel, you're not really going to see that because maybe I haven't found those products. But I am not going to, one, shut up about politics or anything that might piss people off. And number two, I'm not just going to be accepting brand deals to make a bunch of money. Now, it is simple though. And that's the thing. It's so simple to use this power and get very wealthy and do a lot of things and be a cult leader or whatever else you may be doing. So I want to go back a little bit to my grandmother. So the reason my grandmother said people skills was the number one skill to hone was because it could save your life, in the sense of, she never made it like in the sense of a popularity contest. Oh my God, you have to be the best at everything. You have to be so beautiful. You have to think about your hair and your makeup and whatnot. No, she meant it in a way that you can allow people to trust you, right? So one of the things that she always taught me is, if you want people to like you, ask people about themselves. People love to talk about themselves. And that's true. If you really want to put your best foot forward, or you like somebody, or you want this person to like you, go ask them about themselves. Anything. People will love to talk about themselves. But it's actually a very interesting concept, because as I started to do that, I wasn't doing it for people to like me. I was doing it because I was legitimately interested in people's stories. Now, if you like movies, if you like soap operas, if you like books, that's what people are. People have their own story, right? Their own upbringing, their own adventures, their own things that they have gone through in this world. And I find it absolutely fascinating to find that out. That's why I talk to a lot of people. Unfortunately, yes, to some people it could seem a little flirty or like you're too interested, and you do have to, you have to watch out for it. But it brings me back to Elena Tyrell, right? The way she teaches, I forget what her name is. And she and her granddaughter is very cunning, and she's very smart. And obviously that can get away from you like it did for her and end up not so good. But my grandma was onto something, because I tend to make a lot of, I don't know if I want to call them friends. Maybe I'm an only child, and I am an only child, and that's the syndrome, right? I think everyone's my friend, which is a little sad. But I feel like I have a lot of people that I can go to. If God forbid I would need something, if something were to happen, I know there's a lot of people that would help me out. Now, I don't use that, right? I'm not constantly asking for handouts or help, but I know it's there. And it's because I took the time to get to know people, and I took the time to listen to people, and I took the time to know their story and see their perspective, see it their own way, right? It's funny because we just met our neighbor. Now, I live in a mountain, 7,000 feet in the air, and we live in the forest. So obviously your neighbors are not neighbors that you see very often. And we just met our neighbor, and he's 75 years old, and he lives on his own. And obviously I told him, oh, if you ever need anything. And he was like, oh, that's so kind. And I said, I have two little kids, and I want to raise them to know that we have to think about the community. We have to make sure if anyone needs us that we're going to be there and all these things. And he said something funny. He said, oh, that's so good, because I have my grandkids, but they don't do anything because my daughter married a liberal. And I'm over here thinking like, oh, sir, if you only knew the content that I make and who I really am, right? But it's funny because a lot of people confuse that for being a conservative, right? If you have family values, if you want to teach your kids to think about the community, think about your elders, respect your elders. But we're Mexican. That is ingrained in us. That is what we do. That is what we think. So at a very early age, my grandmother was all about, hey, that's exactly what you do. You respect your elders. You ask if they need anything. You ask if they need any help. If your neighbor is elderly, ask them if you want them, want her to clean her lawn, things like this, right? The reason I'm talking about this, all about influence, is because we put those two things together. Likability and charisma, the ability for people to like you, and the influence that you can then create on people. So how do we utilize this for good? I posted a video today on Instagram saying, hey, after watching this video, I want you to put your phone down for 15 minutes. I legitimately think that the way that they're manipulating us psychologically and are shifting our humanity is through, obviously, social media, the internet, and these damn phones. Because I have seen it myself. I have seen myself have this need to go check my phone. I have had this need to, not even need, just being stuck on it, right? Maybe it's whether you're watching other people's content or you're looking how your content is doing, things like that, but you're on this phone. So I started doing something recently with my kids. I'm putting my, I'll work and then I'll put my phone away. And then what I'll usually have on my hands is either a book or some kind of project I'm doing. It could be my doodling journal, or it could be I'm doing some woodwork. So it could be, my piece of wood and my knife, whatever it may be. But I want my kids to see me doing something productive. I don't want them to turn around and see me on my phone like this, right? All the time. Like it's more important than them. And the fact that when I'm playing with my kids, phones out. We are just playing, full attention. Because that's another thing my grandma did when I was very young. My mom was a single mom, so I usually was at home with my grandma most of the time. And when my grandma was interacting with me, she was interacting with me, whether it was teaching me how to make rice, how to grow our own food in the backyard, how to plant things, teaching me about the wind and nature and everything else. She was zoned into me, and she would ask me questions. So what do you think? So what do you think about the sky? And I'd be like, well, why is the sky blue? What do you think? She would say, why do you think the sky is blue? Right? That constant back and forth that allows us to be critical thinkers, allows us to be curious, allows us all these things, right? So we're losing that. We're losing that because we are so consumed with social media and our phones that we are losing the ability to not only think for ourselves, but be curious, right? On this video, I mentioned, hey, I want you to put your phone 15 minutes down, and I want you to grab a piece of paper and write a sentence or write a word. And the reason I say this is because I was recently talking to someone who told me that she was trying to write on a piece of paper and realized that she was actually having problems being able to write what she was thinking down. And she's like, it was the weirdest thing. And she's like, I haven't really written since I was in high school. And you go, honestly, when was the last time you wrote on a piece of paper? When was the last time you wrote in cursive or you read in cursive? How many of us have seen these videos where they'll show someone a word in cursive and the person will be like, oh, I can't, I don't know. And people go like, well, why does that matter? It's so ancient. Why do we need cursive? Because that's another way that people can fool you. That's another way that people are going like, hey, you got to sign this contract. It's in cursive, but sign your rights away. And you're just gonna be like, oh shit, you know what I mean? I mean, we don't even read the contracts that we have in normal writing, let alone are we gonna read anything in cursive. And you know what things are in cursive? The Constitution, other old documents that we should be able to read. So instead of us building more skills as we grow and honing our skills, whether it be people skills or any kind of skills that you like, we're losing skills. And that should terrify us. That is terrifying. If we cannot sit away from our phone for 15 minutes without feeling anxiety, if we can't write something in cursive, if we can't read something in cursive, we are losing skills. We're losing skills. This is a really scary time for humanity, okay? Because even though there's been bad moments in humanity, like the Dark Ages, this is next level because this is global. And this is a technology issue that we cannot stop. And I'm gonna leave that for another video. We're gonna be talking about AI. We're gonna be talking about AI data centers. But I want this video to be about influence and critical thinking. So the only thing I want to leave you with, and we're gonna be talking about influence a lot more, and we'll go back to my grandma and people skills and all of this. But the reason I made this video is I want you to sit with your thoughts more. All right? If you get anything from this video, is I want you to sit with your thoughts. I want you to look outside and think. Think about the tree you're looking at. Think about the concrete that you're looking at. Who put that concrete down? Who made roads? Who made the freeways? How are freeways even it's an amazing thing. I want you to look at the clouds and be like, if the clouds look like this, does it usually rain? Does it not rain? I want you to sit with your thoughts. Even if you're inside and you're in a desk, I want you to think. I want you to think about the computer in front of you and said, who created these motherboards? How did the computer come to existence? How does it even work? You know what I mean? Just sit with your thoughts. I want you to think. And this is the only way to resist, is thinking for yourself. Not what an influencer told you on a video, not what your tia said the other day. I want you to think with your own thoughts. What do you think? Who are you? Not to find yourself, to form yourself. Who do you want to be? The level of influence in our current society is terrifying. And I'm telling you this as an influencer with over 100,000 followers on Instagram. I always tell my followers this on my lives. Don't just take what I say and go with it. Research it. Before you even share my content, research it and make sure it's something that you really do believe, that you think, that you agree with it, and then share it. I'm not doing this to become a millionaire. Shit, I don't get paid at all. I'm doing this because I want to help. And my grandmother, when I was little, always told me that I had the ability to speak. And I had to choose whether I was going to speak to heal or I was going to speak to control. I'm not here to control. I'm here to heal, hopefully. And I'm here to make sure that everyone out there knows that they are not alone, that this is not the end, that they don't have to give up, and that we need to take our thoughts back. All right, guys, I'll be making a lot more videos like this at Echando el Coto. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. And if you haven't already, go follow me on social media and everywhere else. But again, also, put your phone down. Don't be so obsessed. Give yourself a little time for social media and then put it away. All right, I love you guys. Have a good day.